I'm on the next one.
Yeah, thank you. Jonathan Taylor, Director.
So, Jonathan Taylor, Yulia Lushpienko, the head for legal affairs and PGP Group Management. Alexei Falkovich, Director General of Geological Service Company. So please don't leave your seats or take your seats because we are about to start.
Okay. Що ж, почнемо.
So let's start. Jonathan, let me start with you. Since now we have this agreement between Ukraine and the US, it's discussed all the time, even in some subway stations, even in the streets. Our people are discussing that, and that's what we wanted to achieve for many years, so that many more people know about our extractive industry. And my question is about your priorities. What are the main criteria of DFC when assessing priorities in the context of post-war rebuilding of Ukraine?
Having me here, and it's been a great honor to work on the U.S. Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund. I'm here with some of my colleagues who are working on the fund with me. And just to be clear, everything in the fund it's a co-managed vehicle. So we're working very closely with our Ukrainian colleagues to determine our investment profile of what we're looking for. So I'm going to focus just on the mining sector because while it's called the minerals deal, it actually has the fund is going to have a broader set of interests and strategy, but I'm going to focus just on minerals for this panel. But for every investment we're going to do, it has to sort of fit, I'd say, the three circles of a Venn diagram. So it has to fulfill a need from the Ukrainian, a political and economic need for the Ukrainian government. It has to fit a political need for the United States, and it has to have economic viability. It has to be a financially attractive investment. Then there's this outer circle, which has to meet the standards, the environmental, social standards, and the KYC AML standards that sort of DFC expects from all of our investments. So that is the framework, and I actually talk about this a lot. But I think for this group, that might be a useful framework to understand sort of the three parts of the Venn diagram. So when it comes to mining, I think it's actually pretty easy to find things that fit the Ukrainian side of the equation, right? The political and economic interests. Clearly, Ukraine has a political and economic interest to invest in its mining sector, to develop its subsector, soil sector, which has been clearly underinvested for many years. It's a economically important sector, but it needs capital, it needs new technologies, it needs third-party foreign investment. That's kind of an easy need for the Ukrainian side. On the U.S. political side, there's actually this one for me also is fairly straightforward. As I think many people in the audience know, the United States has increasingly become focused on securing supply chains for critical minerals, right, or critical raw materials. So the United States has been working around the world to develop essentially, secure supply chains. And that, includes finding ways to decouple or de-risk from authoritarian states. And so what we're doing now is bringing Ukraine into that story. And through the minerals deal, when you were negotiating this, I was one of the negotiators of the deal, and it was very much top of mind from the United States side to bring Ukraine into that story of de-risking our supply chains for the benefit of the American people and for sort of the strategic competition that we're facing with authoritarian governments like China and Russia. So we are very happy to look for minerals that sort of fit our needs on that side. We can go into those, which minerals those are. But, finding those minerals in Ukraine and securing those supply chains is really important. Now, the last part of that Venn diagram, the financial returns, I think that's where we're going to have a lot of work to do to figure out, which minerals are economically viable, which mines are the most likely to be profitable, what needs to happen to sort of bring them up to standards where they're going to be profitable in the near term for equity investments, because the fund is only going to make equity investments for the first several years at least. Yeah, leave it there.
І в середньому, кілька років в середньому це скільки?
So several years is how many years per project? So to calculate when you select which minerals are the most profitable, the best, the most viable, how many years? 2, 3, 5 years?
Okay, I mean, I think it's a very
Для
complicated
нас це
question.
важливе питання, поясню.
It's important to us because many media, world media, after signing this treaty between the US and Ukraine, many media asked, so when are you gonna start extracting? How many years? Will it be still Trump administration or the next president?
Look, I'll answer the question this way. In our early stages of investment, so we have sort of a time horizon, sort of a 3 to 5 year initial investment phase. We absolutely plan on investing in brownfield and greenfield mines, bias towards brownfield operating mines expansions. That's probably going to be the focus. And looking, the mines, the investments that we are making, as I think a lot of people know in this audience, the fund is not able by law to take out any money out of Ukraine for 10 years from the signing date. So for 10 years, all the money has to be recycled into Ukraine. And so, we can exit an investment earlier than that, but we'd have to recycle it anyway. So this is a long-term investment. So we're not necessarily, I don't want to say we need to have profitability 3 years, 5 years. It really depends on the investment. It really depends on the mineral in the case. We have to make a strategic decision of when we want to hit profitability in that particular mine. So I can't say that there's an exact number for anything. But we can talk about, do you want me to talk about the mine? The minerals we're focused on, obviously, it has to be kind of in the strategic interest of the United States and obviously present in Ukraine in a way that we think potentially is economically viable. Obviously, titanium is a very clear one that everyone's talking about and think there's a real potential there. Graphite, beryllium, gold, even though it's maybe not necessarily a critical mineral, but it's certainly something that is of interest and as economically viable. There's also, potential for, obviously, rare earths is obviously on everyone's mind. In general, we think rare earths probably is going to be more of a co-production for another primary commodity or primary ore body that is going to be, taken out through the processing as a side processing element. We'll see where those kind of shake out. We've heard a lot of different possibilities in Ukraine. We're certainly looking at all those seriously. And we're also willing to open the aperture for other elements that, could be critical in other senses, like, iron, high quality iron ore that can be turned into steel for shipbuilding, right? That's really high quality. Lithium, I forgot to mention, is another one, right? Lithium. So there's obviously a lot of very sort of obvious critical minerals people talk about. There's not significant copper deposits. That's what we're typically focused on, cobalt in Ukraine. But the sort of the big obvious elements that, or mining elements that we're looking at, the minerals that are out there, people talk about in other parts of the world. Me and my colleagues at DFC were looking for them all over the world, but, they have to be there in an economically viable fashion for us to be focused on them in the country. So.
Ну і від планування давайте.
And since we already discussed planning, let's discuss this de-risking, the reduction of risks given this security situation in Ukraine. What are the tools for de-risking that you plan to use to attract investors for this industry in Ukraine?
So I would say two things, or I'll say three things actually. One, the structure of the fund is inherently de-risking these investments. We have two flags. The flag of the United States of America and the flag of the government of Ukraine. That is a unique value proposition to anyone. So by the fact that we put a fund that has those two flags in it into any investment, we think that, one is ideally a deterrent to any aggressor state to, not attack an asset that has those flags in it and sort of the U.S. taxpayer money in that asset. And secondarily, the fact that for those third-party investors who are worried about expropriation or worried about, the Ukrainian government, having some nefarious schemes on an asset. The fact that the Ukrainian government is a co-investor, I think, also hopefully de-risks that with the United States government. And this is the theory that structurally the fund itself de-risks. Secondarily, we have with the DFC, we are well known for having war risk insurance in Ukraine. We are not saying that automatically every investment that the fund does is going to have a war risk sort of side package go along with it, but we are saying that to the extent that other investors, we don't sort of we don't insure our own equity, but to the extent that other investors in our projects are looking for war risk insurance, there's going to be a lot of synergies there, and it's something that we expect to be fairly popular and certainly discussed. Every conversation we have goes to war risk insurance in Ukraine. The third piece, which is interesting actually, is we're looking forward to. We won't do this ourselves too much. I mean, there's potentially some money from DFC out of our technical assistance bucket or project development bucket, but we do expect there to be project preparation facilities and monies for that from other parties. And in the mining context, we think those project preparation facilities will be very beneficial to getting projects de-risked and ready for equity investment, right? So those are typically sort of grant or sort of refundable grants that go in and de-risk projects, get them ready for equity investment, and then we would come in kind of on the back of that and make those equity investments.
І щодо фінансування.
As for financing for geological research, we have heard in media for a week now that the acting economy minister, Alexei Sobolev, made some statements to Forbes that DFC is gonna finance geological research works in Ukraine. And respectively, my question is, could you elaborate on that a bit about that format of funding? Because DFC, well, which regions will it be? Which deposits will it be? Minerals deposits. How will this money be used? And this is, well, the information that we heard during the first panel. In 2026, we have 186 million hryvnias for geological research works, and it's nothing. We need hundreds of millions of dollars for such works in each region, because for over 10 years we didn't have the quality, the geological research. 30, it's not 10, it's 30 years when there's been no geological work of good quality. But last year we had the law adopted about the development of raw materials in Ukraine, which involves that the geological research can be funded by private sector or by the government. The state budget doesn't have that money, so maybe you can help, and how will you do that?
So I'll say a few things. First of all, we are strongly supportive of the idea of there being more geological surveys in Ukraine. That's very important. Secondly, my good friend, the Minister of Economy, Alexei Sobolev, I am not entirely sure the origin of that quote, or maybe if there's a misquoting or some kind of mistranslation. There's never the idea that DFC would pay for the surveys out of our budget. That's not something we can really do. DFC is, we make investments, right? So unless there's like a project that came to us that said, hey, we're a private company and we're doing, digitalization of mining data and surveys. Would you want to invest in us? We can't just go out and pay for millions of dollars of surveys. It's not really in our capability. There is potentially other government money from the United States that could support that. There's nothing announced as of yet whether or not that's going to happen. I mean, obviously, it would be very much beneficial to the fund for that to happen. So we're supportive of that work, very supportive of that work. But just to be clear, that's something nothing has been formalized on that point. And I hope that does happen. And to the extent it does, we think that it would be good to sort of target the critical minerals that I just mentioned and sort of the areas and the ore bodies or the deposits that are, potentially economically viable, right, and to get more data. And obviously working through the geological survey, like working with the existing structures of Ukraine to kind of find where the deposits are that can be economically viable. So we're very supportive of it. It can't really sort of by law come out of our pocket, but we're very supportive of, other parts of the government, the U.S. government or otherwise, funding that research.
Дякую. І, власне,
Thank you. And my last question to you about the long-term cooperation. How does DFC assess this potential for creating a common mechanism for the with the Ukrainian institution, informed with cooperation with industry association or with national funds to engage the stable funding in this area of CRM?
Yeah, it's great. We are one of my key messages coming here, and I said it in URC, and now saying it again. I've been saying it kind of in more private forums, but we are very much looking forward to working with our partners in the IFI community, with the DFIs. Like Arvid that was here talking about the EBRD cooperation, very much working forward. We talk to Arvid all the time. We are very much looking forward to working with the EBRD and co-investing in projects where it makes sense, and mining where it makes sense. Talk to the IFC all the time, talk to EIB all the time. There are friends in Canada, FinDev. We'd love to...
це поки що на рівні розмов, правильно?
Sorry?
Now it's at the level of conversation, so just the talks, no contracts, no arrangements, right?
No, but we have to find the right project first. But yeah. No, I mean, frankly, look, this is a personal bias of mine. I don't see a lot of value in signing just to say an agreement saying that someday we'll work together to find a deal. I'd much rather find a deal, come together, and then invest in it, rather than saying someday we're going to find a deal and go invest. So we talk about finding deals, and once we find the right project, we'll do the investment. Absolutely.
Дякую. Хочу нагадати, що у
Thank you, and let me remind you that in May this agreement was signed, so it's not much time passed after that, and we understand that now you're having this bidding process, selecting the best, and I wish you good luck with that. If you want, please join us, contact us, we'll work together. And now I'd like to give the floor to Alexei, which is a famous geologist in our sphere if we talk about CRM.
Alexei, from your experience, what do you think? What is the level of preparedness of Ukrainian companies when it comes to staff, technologies, and reporting? Because now, as it was noted by Mr. Taylor, you are in search of companies who could provide technological support. So, in your view, who could deal with that? Who has the relevant experience? Thank you very much for your question. I would like to show our dear guests a short film entitled Invest in Ukraine. And there we show facilities that are already half ready for investment, and it's going to be in English, so please enjoy.
13 billion years ago, the Big Bang occurred, and the universe was born. The universe expanded and cooled, forming stars, galaxies, and planets. When the Earth appeared, chemical elements, natural gas and metals were filling its depths. Some of them came here from space, as a meteor shower. Others formed because of complex reactions and synthesis. As early as during prehistory, man used metals. First,
У преісторії люди використовували метал, на початку бронз, а потім людство перейшло на інший рівень технологій і почали використовувати сировину і сплавлені метали. Будь ласка, познайомтесь з Україною.
the metallurgy market, a transport hub. In the 21st century, this is not enough. We are creating a new high-tech industry, an industry that will bring together nanotech, robotics, space research, innovative healthcare. We are creating a new economic reality. The time has come for boutique metallurgy. The Ukrainian mines and carriers are rich in rare earth and trace elements. Reserves of raw materials crucial for modern industry are found here. These are priceless components. The consignment of such metals can consist of several grams, but without them, it is impossible to imagine space exploration, complex surgical operations, the production of miniature gadgets, and the development of nuclear energy. Without them, the future is impossible. The Ukrainian shield contains the deposits of unique minerals: titanium, uranium, beryllium, tantalum, nickel, cobalt, gold, and many others. The deposits are concentrated in well-explored regions of the country, with extended transport links and industrial infrastructure. Cobalt. Cobalt is used in space and aviation technology and in the chemical industry. This is the main raw material for the production of batteries. Nickel. Due to heat resistance and corrosion resistance, nickel is indispensable as a structural material. It is the basis for stainless steels. Nickel is also included in the so-called superalloys. In the aerospace industry, they are used to make turbine parts. Tantalum. Tantalum capacitors make an indispensable part of portable electronic devices, laptops, video cameras, communications equipment. This is a unique material for the production of surgical wire, sheets, and foil for fastening tissues and nerves. The human body accepts tantalum as its own bone tissue. Titanium. The 21st century is the century of titanium. Titanium alloys are used in rocket engineering, aircraft construction, and in the production of parts for oil and gas drilling platforms. Graphite. The industrial use of graphite is incredibly diverse due to its characteristics and properties. It is indispensable in metallurgy, engineering, nuclear energy, and with the production of graphene, graphite must certainly be considered the stuff of the future. Gold. The gold mining industry of Ukraine can provide resources for manufacturers of computer circuits, communications equipment systems, space and aircraft industries. Beryllium. Without beryllium oxide, it is impossible to make high-performance computers, lasers, radars. Having the largest stock of beryllium ores in Europe, Ukraine may become a pioneer in the production of beryllium alloys. The world has entered an era of new technology. The demand for resources for the technologies is growing steadily and irreversibly. Ukraine is a storehouse of various metals. It has developed scientific and experimental infrastructure. Ukraine is a unique logistics hub located at the crossway of transport corridors between the countries of Europe, the Middle East, and the states of the Asian continent. Ukraine is a unique opportunity to participate in the creation of a high-tech industry in the center of Europe. Ukraine is a country of the future. Invest in Ukraine today.
Дякуємо. Я ще раз хочу нагадати питання. Які українських компаній?
Thank you very much. I would like to remind you of the question. Yeah, I do remember about the question, but since we all believe in our country, we are all convinced that everything is going to be good. And as of today, unfortunately, companies, geological companies that are able to perform according to international standards, up to international standards, they are very few. Actually, there are just two of them. These two companies have competent staff, competent persons, and relevant equipment for modeling and so on. I think that the issue is not about the number of companies. If Ukraine receives investments in facilities that it has, then the number of companies are going to grow, because Ukrainian business is not only about Ukrainian companies. There are plenty of service companies in the world that can engage in the Ukrainian market, but our goal was to make Ukrainian companies in particular to perform according to international standards. When it comes to transparency and international standards, what steps have to be taken in order to adhere to international standards like JORC, CRISCO, there are many of them, and to make them attractive for foreign investors. You know, the problem is that geological studies of our facilities were done in the Soviet times, and we have to still verify the data that we work with today. And in order to achieve that, we have to control the boreholes and to perform all these checks in certified laboratories that unfortunately are not present, are not available currently in Ukraine. Purchasing software is not a problem, neither is getting specialists who are fluent in the software, but the real issue is that the facilities that are attractive for investors today, they are lacking basic geological information. So this information has to be verified. We have to revise historical data, and this is one of the problems that we have to figure out. Currently, you are speaking about potential for collaboration. What can strengthen the collaboration between the government, the state, and companies such as yours in order to form a firm foundation for further development? You know, first and foremost, the state should see private service companies. The state has a task to enable attractive resources to investors, and the state may use its funds in order to create an offer that's attractive for an investor, and then after an auction is organized, then these funds may come back to the budget. But as of now, we are lacking such a mechanism. Yeah, we are lacking such a mechanism. Still, we proposed to create such a mechanism, and also private service geological companies perform junior projects all over the world, and they develop these projects until they are ready for resource extraction. And I would recommend to concentrate on this. So we should engage these companies in order to develop such projects. Okay, thank you. Maybe you would like to add anything else? Well, I am very grateful for the invitation to this forum. I am immensely happy to see my colleagues, and I really like the chance to show our films about how we love Ukraine. Thank you very much. I really hope that we are going to engage more and more private companies. Now we are going to ask a question from the GD Group, that is one of the leaders in the market of Ukraine. We have Yulia Lyshpenko, the head of legal matters in the BGV Group. Yulia, please describe the BGV Group shortly, and Tell us about your work before it got trendy. Could you please tell us about the projects that you run and about your achievements?
So I'd like to start with the presentation. So BGV Group is the investment private company. It's Ukrainian, dealing with investments in different sectors of economy. But about 8 years ago, we focused on critical minerals and on development of CRM projects. And we also invest in energy and infrastructure, retail, development, and education. But our main focus is still the mining projects, including CRM mining. As of now, BGV has 13 special permissions for using the subsoil, and 3 of them include the critical minerals. Our projects are based in the central part of Ukraine, which lets us actually develop those even now in given conditions. We have good professionals. Those are the traditionally mining regions, so there is the good infrastructure there, and it lets us develop those projects. BGV has already invested over $100 million of its own money, and we keep doing that. We keep investing. We believe in Ukraine. And we believed in the CRM about 8-9 years ago, when there wasn't such a hype topic and the trend in the world, because we realized that any energy transformation, transition, green energy would require critical minerals. So this was a targeted strategy of the company. And so now when it's so this topic is really very hype. We're at the stage when we can demonstrate something, show the world something, and tell them that Ukraine has the responsible business that builds its projects responsibly, that meets to international standards, and that we're open for cooperation. Our flagman projects are BGV Beryllium and BGV Graphite. It's divided into 3 sections, stages. It's building the enrichment factory, and with the recovery of the concentrate with the potential of 100,000 concentrate per year. Also, we want the next stage would be the recovery of spheronized graphite, and we plan to get 19,000 tons of concentrate per year. And the third stage will be the manufacture of products from graphite, different oil, different lubricants, and different products. So now we invest into this capacity building of Ukraine. We try to develop it. As for another flagman project of beryllium deposits, we have the PFS report now. It was made by GFS Canada. We developed this project. This deposit is in Zhytomyr region, and to be able to integrate this project into the world supply chains, we need to prepare the deposit for recovery, which means we have to develop documents, etc. Then we have to produce the concentrate, and then we will have metallurgy and other sectors. And what about your graphite project and your specific project that started September? Were you involved in those bidding processes? Yes, BGV graphite was submitted for strategic project last year. We were selected as one of 13 projects selected out of the European Union, and as of now we are working on that, work with the European Commission. For Ukrainian project, it means that we will have access to financial investment of the EU. We will get the full ability of the full financial structuring of our project. We will also get access to offtake contracts, and as of now we understand that because of the geopolitical situation, countries are reluctant about signing treaties with Ukraine because not everyone is sure that the project will be implemented because of the war. And so if the EU recognizes this project as the strategic, it means it's a guarantee to us and to our investors that the raw materials will be supplied in time and with good quality. So this is the sign of quality for the European Commission, because this strategical status for Europe already integrates Ukraine into the global supply chains. Even despite Ukraine is not the EU member, it can become a part of the supply chain of CRM, and to us it's a recognition that our project meets international standards, including ecological or social standards. And this paradigm of Europe's perception of Ukrainian projects matters. So now we're not talking about only reduction of risks when talking about investment into Ukraine, but about what to do to help companies develop those projects so that they can become part of the European supply chain. And this September, the European Commission declared the second call for strategic projects, and we are preparing the next two projects for the second application at the second call. And the management is in BGV is based not on aligning or fitting our projects towards some certain bidding processes, but so that we are always ready to apply for some investments or grants as well. So we are now being prepared. Thank you. And now in Ukraine we have this strategy of development of critical raw materials. Are you involved in that process? And how does it matter? What does it mean to you? Indeed, as of now, we are finalizing the development of this CRM strategy. I think it's a very important step for the country, for the players, because if the country or the company doesn't have their own strategy, they become the part of someone else's. And so this step should have been done a long time ago, and it's good that we're doing that now. We understand the needs of Ukrainian business, and we can take into account all the aspects. This strategy is developed by the government, by Dixie Group, a Ukrainian company. And it's a very well integrated business, because business is very well integrated into this process, because business knows all the aspects and specifics. We have been involved into development of previous stages of this strategy, and we hope that this will let the country focus on where we're heading to. So the business will understand where we're going to, what are the needs and the demand of the world for CRM. Business will be able to adjust their directions, and the partners and investors will know that the Ukraine has the strategy, and we know what and when we will recover, extract. Well, unlike other countries, Ukraine didn't have a strategy. So basically, since December 2024, since the early 2025, we started this new page of this mining history in Ukraine, and I hope that you as an international partner will help us, that the European colleagues that spoke in the first panel, Canadian colleagues from the first panel, some geological companies, private companies, we as the National Association, as the only NGO specialized in that in Ukraine, we all can create this ecosystem to help Ukraine push this to make the world more stable, sustainable, growing, and so that the supply chains of CRM is never stopped. So thank you. And now please stay in this hall, and now the next panel for the energy sector will start. So I thank our speakers, our panelists.